No teacher will have the kind of influence the father will have. And when the father does not do his job, or the father is prevented from doing his job, then the effect will not just come on the child, the effect will come on the entire next generation. The effect will be on the entire world.
وآتاكم من كل ما سألتموه وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها إن الإنسان لظلوم كفار. وإذ قال إبراهيم رب اجعل هذا البلد آمنا واجنبني وبني أن نعبد الأصنام.
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Towards the end of Surah Ibrahim, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions a very famous ayah that many people know. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ. He has given you everything that you could have asked for. The word sa'ala in Arabic has two meanings. It has the meaning of talab. So a sa'il can be someone who's begging, like on the street somebody's asking for something and demanding something. But sa'il can also be someone who's in need, someone who needs. So if, for example, you need medical attention, but you didn't ask for medical attention, you're still a sa'il. Because a muhtaj is also a sa'il. So there's two kinds of sa'il. Sa'il means someone who asks, but also someone who needs. Allah is not saying here He has given you everything you ask for, because we ask Allah for a lot of things. Somebody asks for more money, somebody asks for better health, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't get it. But Allah does say He'll give you everything you actually you need. So the understanding of the word here has to be clear. He has given you everything you could have needed. مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ. Then He says, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. And if you were to count the favor of Allah, you wouldn't be able to fully encircle it. Al-ihsa is another word for adad. Adad means to count something. But Allah used two different words for counting in this ayah. Allah said, in ta'uddu. He didn't say, in tuhsu ni'matallahi la tuhsuha. He said, in ta'uddu ni'matallahi la tuhsuha. So in English translation, you can say, if you count the favor of Allah, you won't count it. So it sounds like you said the word count twice. But actually, He used two different words for counting. And so let's, for a moment, understand what that would mean. What's something we can learn from that? Literally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's adad. That's adda. So in ta'uddu ni'mat Allah, if you were to count the favor of Allah. And Allah mentions ni'mah, the singular, ni'mah of Allah, one ni'mah. He didn't say ni'am Allah. Ni'am Allah would mean all the favors of Allah. But counting one favor of Allah is easy. It's just one favor of Allah. I can see that's one favor of Allah. I just counted it. But Allah didn't say, in ta'uddu ni'mat Allahi lan ta'udduha, or la ta'udduha. He said, la tuhsuha. Al-ihsa means husat were actually little pebbles. And the Arabs, in the old way of counting, they used to count something and they put a pebble in the bottle. Then they put another pebble in the bottle, and they put another pebble in the bottle. Later on, people put marbles in the bottle, right? And nowadays in the banks, you have, for example, cash machines that count the cash quickly, right? This was the ancient form of counting. But you put something inside, and now it's contained. Now it's fully contained, right? This was a record keeping. Ihsa was a kind of record keeping. What Allah is saying is that even if you can count the favor of Allah, one favor, I'm giving the example of seeing, you cannot fully record it. You cannot take full account of it. How many ways did seeing benefit me today? How many ways did seeing benefit me yesterday? Many of you drive. When you're driving your car, if seeing was taken away for 10 seconds, if seeing was taken away in the right moment, what would happen? Well, if you're a surgeon and you're performing heart surgery, and for just a few seconds the seeing gets taken away, or you're a pilot landing a plane and the seeing gets taken away. Just imagine for a moment, can we actually fully account for how much seeing protects us from moment to moment to moment, and how many blessings come our way just from this one favor of Allah? Allah is saying you're not able to fully appreciate even one single favor of Allah. Human beings are full of wrongdoing, and they are extremely ungrateful. Kafar, extremely ungrateful, and kafar from sighat al-fa'al also means they keep being ungrateful over and over and over again. So I remind myself in this khutbah, I remind you of a favor, but 2 hours from now I'll forget again. And I'll become ungrateful again. It's possible. And then I'll be reminded, I'll become ungrateful again. So the ingratitude of human beings keeps happening over and over and over again. Now it's amazing that the ayat of the Quran, Allah says, "Uhkimat ayatuhu," the ayat of His book, the revelations of the Quran are stitched together. So what did Allah stitch this to? He stitched this ayah, immediately after this ayah is the ayah about Ibrahim alayhi salam, towards the end of Surah Ibrahim. Now Ibrahim alayhi salam, we get two major parts of his life in the Quran. Ibrahim alayhi salam lived to a very old age, but in the Quran, either you learn about him when he was very young, or you learn about him when he was very old. Those are the two times you learn about Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran. You don't learn much about the middle life. You only learn about the early life and the very late life. In the late life of, this is going to be about the late life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is going to look back at all the favors Allah did for him, and he's going to make a dua to Allah. And that's the ayah that we're learning about now. So Allah is telling us, you can't even appreciate a single favor. But then He takes us to the example of someone who was very grateful to Allah, who was shakir to Allah, shakiran li an'umihi, kama qala subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He was grateful to Allah through his entire life. So let's see what he does. Allah says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا. This is, of course, he's very old now. The Kaaba has already been built. The sacrifice story is already done. All of that's over. This is at the very end of the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the Kaaba is already the Mecca is already populated, people are already there, the house is established, everything is done. Now, he says, my master, my Rabb, make this city peaceful. Now that the city has started, Ya Allah, I beg you to make this a place that remains safe. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. And keep me and my children from worshipping idols. Now I told you all the tests of Ibrahim alayhi salam have already finished. All the tests are over. And after the final test was over, we learn in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. When he finished all of his tests, Allah said, I am making you a leader over all nations. All nations. Actually, the Jews claim Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Christians claim Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Muslims claim Ibrahim alayhi salam. They call themselves Abrahamic faiths. Billions of people on the planet have a connection. The wrong connection or the right connection is not what I'm discussing. But they feel they have a connection to who? Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is being told before all of this, I am making you a leader for all humanity. All of humanity. This is after he passed all his tests. What's remarkable is immediately after that, he said, that's great. Millions and billions of people, all of humanity, trillions of people even through the generations, all of humanity. What about my children? He didn't ask about millions of people. He just asked about his women dhurriyati. We learned something about Ibrahim alayhi salam that even Rasulullah was told, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was told, فَاتَّبِعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. You, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, follow the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's a qudwa. He's even an example for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself. It's his father. What is the lesson that we're learning from Ibrahim alayhi salam here? If you're really concerned about all of humanity, because now if he's the leader of all of humanity, he's responsible in some way over all of humanity. The only real way to fulfill that responsibility is with your own sons, your own daughters. The first step is وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. After being made the leader, after Mecca is established, after the Kaaba is finished, he's built the Kaaba, he's coming to Allah, and he's telling Allah, Ya Allah, make this city peaceful. Make this city peaceful is for the entire population, not only his children, everybody who lives in Mecca. But then he says, وَجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. Keep me and my children from worshipping idols. Who did he bring up again? His kids. He didn't bring up the entire world. He didn't bring up the entire ummah. He brought up his kids. The reason I wanted to emphasize this today in this khutbah, in these brief minutes that we have together, is that Allah has emphasized the importance of the role of the father in these ayat. Ibrahim alayhi salam, in the ultimate position of leadership, in that ultimate position, he understands that the first step of that leadership is that I am a father. I have children. I have to protect my kids. And I have to make dua for my kids. And those kids, Ibrahim and Ishaq, both of them are prophets. Both of them are prophets. And one of them, Ismail alayhi salam, helping him build the Kaaba. And we already know the dua, Rabbana taqabbal minna. We already know that dua. And now he's talking about his kids, and then their kids, and their kids, and their kids. And he's saying, Ya Allah, keep me and my children from falling into the worship of idols. Ibrahim alayhi salam believes that Islam is not guaranteed for his kids. And even for their kids, and their kids, and their kids. And it could be that 5 generations from now, there might be people that are no longer Muslim from his children's children's children. He understands this. So his dua at the end of his life, these are the last, in a sense, these are the last quotes of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran. He's saying, protect me and my kids from the worship of idols. This teaches us what kind of relationship I'm supposed to have with my sons and my daughters. What is the role of every father? We are the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We have a responsibility. You know, in Western society, they have this certain kind of propaganda and a certain kind of media propaganda in liberal societies. And the media propaganda is the mother is the carer, she's the provider, she's the responsible one, and the father is the idiot. The father just wants to play. The father doesn't know how to change a diaper. The father doesn't know how to feed the baby. The father doesn't know what to do. The father doesn't know when the baby's crying what to do. The father forgets if he fed the baby or not. Or he forgot to pick the kid up from school. In TV shows, in cartoons, in documentaries, in podcasts, in social media posts, etc. Fathers are irresponsible, losers. Fathers are useless. Mothers do everything. And I'm not giving you this khutbah to attack mothers. Because every time we have this idea, we have this sickness. It's a disease. If I talk about children, somebody says, what about parents? If I talk about parents, somebody says, you didn't talk about children. If I talk about fathers, somebody says, hey, why didn't you talk about mothers? You see, you can never talk about anything. Nowadays, you cannot talk about anything without making it weaker and talking about the opposite. Everybody here knows the right and the responsibility and the role and the maqam, the station, the high station of the mother in Islam. We know the station of the mother in the Quran. So there's no reason to become insecure when I'm talking about the importance of the father. Oh, you're saying the father is important? That must mean the mother is nothing to you? You're saying mothers are nothing? This insecurity needs to stop. This is a sickness. This is a sickness. We have to get away from that sickness. Because we have to deal with one subject, and we have to be able to do justice to it without apologizing. Without saying, no. I mean, fathers are great, but let's give a few minutes to our mothers too. Mothers will get plenty of time. And the problem is, when I one day talk about mothers, then fathers will come, you make it sound like fathers are nothing. This is insecurity. And this keeps us from pursuing the truth in an honest way. They have a word for this in English. It's called whataboutism. Whataboutism. So I talk about one thing, but what about the other thing? But what about the other thing? But what about the other thing? If you keep doing that, you will never be able to talk about anything. Because you keep having to talk about something else. You can't ever focus on one thing. So this khutbah is dedicated just to fathers. And if somebody, one day this will be on social media, or even after the khutbah, somebody will come with a what about. So I'm answering you before you come to me. I'm letting you know ahead of time. So now, because fathers are portrayed as idiots, and they just want to play, and they're not responsible. It's being made to look like fathers are not fit to be parents. The actual parent is the mother. And that's why in Western societies and liberal societies, not just in Europe or America or Canada or Australia, but even in many Muslim countries, if there's ever a divorce or a problem in the marriage, etc., most of the time custody goes to the mother. Because the mother is a better parent, better fit to be a parent. The father is not a suitable parent for the child. What does the Quran have to say about all of this? What does the Sharia have to say about all of this? What does the Prophet ﷺ teach us about all of this? What does the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam teach us? What does the example of Luqman teach us in the Quran? Or does the example of Yaqub teach us in the Quran? Or the example of Nuh alayhi salam? Or the examples keep going of fathers with difficult sons, fathers with obedient sons, fathers with a challenge with some of their sons. All kinds of fatherhood in the Quran, constantly. You know why? Because the role of the mother is to nurture and to protect and to care and to love. But the role of the father is to teach. The role of the father is to give strength. The role of the father is to build character. That's the role of the role of the father is to prepare their child for the world that's coming. The role of this father, Ibrahim alayhi salam, is to make sure every generation is going to lead the way that Ibrahim alayhi salam was given responsibility of leadership. The role of the father is to produce the next leader, is to create the next leader. When a baby's crying, because there was a good thing that the baby was crying for a little bit. It was a good demonstration. Allah reward the father for bringing the baby. When a baby's crying, and what does a mother do? She panics, she gets up, she loves the child, nurtures the child, comforts the child. I have a 2-year-old son, for example, he's a little over 2 years old. When he cries, I don't run to him and say, oh, why are you crying? I sit down next to him. What happened? Did you get hurt? Where did you get hurt? Completely calm, no hugs, nothing yet. Where did you get hurt? Okay, show me where you got hurt. Over here. Okay, let me touch it. You feel better? Okay, now help me fix this. And then he gets busy. He gets busy. Why? Because I'm teaching him, instead of living in your pain and celebrating your pain, and then I'm going to cry with you. Oh my God, my baby got hurt. What's going to happen if I train him to constantly celebrate his pain? Then by the time he's 16 years old, he's going to be a TikToker celebrating his pain on TikTok and talking about how he's never going to heal, right? I have to raise a man. I have to let him know crying will happen, pain will happen, and here's how you will overcome it, and here's how you will deal with it. And that's the role of a father. That's the role of a father has to do this. He has to build his son, he has to build his daughter for a difficult world. Ibrahim alayhi salam's legacy is teaching us this. He understands that without that, if men don't raise the next generation, we have this idea, men's job is to do the work. I drive the Uber, I drive the taxi, I work in the store, I work in the factory, I work in the office. You take care of the child. Some men have that sickness. That's also a sickness. In the Quran, the most important teacher in the life of your son and in the life of the daughter, the most important teacher is the father. You're the murabbi, you're the imam, you're the sheikh, you're the personal coach, you're the fitness trainer, you're the therapist, you're all of it. All is you. And if you're not ready to do that, then you're not ready to be a father. And if you're already a father, then you better step up. It's too late. You can't cry about it and outsource that job. No teacher will have the kind of influence the father will have. And when the father does not do his job, or the father is prevented from doing his job, then the effect will not just come on the child, the effect will come on the entire next generation. The effect will be on the entire world. The entire world. This is not a small thing. This changes everything about a society. This affects politics. This affects the economy. This affects social structure. in a generation or two, this will affect the kinds of laws that will be passed, because the children that were raised by fathers will have a different kind of moral code. And the children that didn't have fathers will have a different kind of moral code. They didn't have that figure, will have a different kind of moral code. Now we're living in a time, because we are in times that are very far from the values of Islam. And some people have this idea, I know my time is almost up, so I want to be as concise as possible. Some people have this idea that the best times were ancient times. So we'll talk about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een and how amazing they were. And we only talk about that to remind ourselves how bad we are. So those people were really good, therefore we are really bad. So all the good people are dead, and now we have the leftovers, right? And so Islam had its golden age, and now it has the past expiration date, going on, right? This is a sickness too. Our deen came to correct and to make better every generation, every nation, every century, every time, every place. Our deen is relevant always. It's never expired. Its values never expired. The problem is that we think that we have to become some special kind of superhuman to be able to do what Islam says. Islam's teachings are very straightforward. They're very easy to apply, and especially with fatherhood, they're very straightforward and easy to apply. You and I as fathers have to be able to have a direct role in the way we educate our kids, especially with their religion, especially with their akhlaq. How are they supposed to be with elders? How are they supposed to handle when they get into a fight? What's supposed to happen when they get in trouble at school? What's supposed to happen when they lie? And our solution is not what some of you were raised by fathers who beat you. So you say, well, that's tarbiyah of Islam, right? So Islam is right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has far more authority over the Sahaba than a father has over a son. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sami'na wa ta'na ala kulli hal. No matter what, you absolutely obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even when the Sahaba disappointed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even when they failed him on the battlefield in Uhud, for example, even when he almost got killed because of their mistake, does he beat the Sahaba? Does he insult or yell at the Sahaba? Does he raise his voice at the Sahaba? Does he do that? And now we think that the Islamic father is the yelling father, the beating father. That's tarbiyah. I don't know what sunnah you've been studying. I don't know what Quran that is, but it's not this one. It's not this book, and it's not that prophet. That's you. That's your problem, and you made that somebody else, so you made it a child's problem. That has nothing to do with this religion. There's supposed to be toughness. There's supposed to be discipline, but there's a way to create that discipline without breaking a child. When you're yelling at a child like they're an adult, why did you break that glass? Why did you touch it? I told you not to eat that. When you're yelling at them like that. When you're yelling at them like that. As if you expect from them the behavior of an adult. That's what you expect from them. What did you teach that child? You taught them, I better not break that glass because Baba's going to get very angry. The reason is, Baba will get very angry. When that child is 18 years old and he's taller than you, and he's bigger, he's been going to the gym, he's bigger than you, and you've been eating samosas and baklawa and he breaks a glass, and you say, hey, why did you break that glass? He says, don't talk to me like that. Astaghfirullah al-azim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I gotta talk to the sheikh. I have rebellious children. No. The only reason you gave him to obey you was to fear you. That was the only reason he didn't obey you because you're worthy of obedience. The only thing that made you worthy of obedience was fear. It wasn't, if you break a glass, my son, you broke that glass, now we're going to clean it together. And here's why this was a bad thing. You could get hurt, and this can happen, and you explain it, and you walk him through it, And you punish him, but punish him with love and discipline, not yelling and screaming. Not yelling and screaming. And by the way, we have this principle in Islam, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. We know this principle. Is it for one person, 2%, or everybody? It's for everybody. You don't love for anyone else what you don't love for yourself. Would you like to be talked to like that? If you don't love that for yourself, how do you love that for your child? Are these not principles of our religion? You know, كيف يذهب بعقولكم بهذا التصرف? Where does our mind go? أي دين هذا? So what happens when you teach a child when they make a mistake with wisdom, with education, with tarbiyah, with correction, but without this fear and yelling and screaming? Because if that's the way that things get done, then when that child becomes 20, 21, 22 years old, and one day he gets married and his wife breaks a glass, the only way he knows how to correct that situation, you see what he's done? And he might do that in front of a 1-year-old daughter and traumatize that child. You created sickness in the mind and evil for generations because you don't know how to control your temperament. You don't know how to be a father. This is serious. We have to go back to the wisdom that was taught to us, the beauty that was taught to us. I'll leave you with these thoughts. You have, on one case, you have Yusuf alayhi salam, who sees a dream, and he doesn't go to his mother. He doesn't go to his mother, he goes to his father. Ya abati inni ra'aytu ahada ashara kawkaban. How many kids would rather go to dad and talk to dad than talk to mom whenever something happens? And if your kids don't want to do that, then you need to create that as a father. Look at Luqman radiallahu anhu in the Quran. He doesn't say to his son, إِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. He said, يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. My little son. يعني هذا التعبير يشير إلى الحب. إلى غاية الحب. He lovingly talks to his son and says, my son, I love you so much, don't do shirk. The Quran, nothing in the Quran is zaid, nothing is extra. So when the father is telling his son, my little son, I love you, and then he teaches him deen, then love becomes part of the education of Islam for a father. That's هذا هو القرآن. كلمة الله العليا. We have to go back and read this book with tadabbur, understand what it is to be a father and what Allah is teaching us. Everything Allah mentioned in the Quran, especially in the role of fathers. We have to, as a father, I have to look at that and say, there's a reason Allah said this. There's a reason Allah said this. There's a reason Allah is telling me something. Allah is telling me something. And so we have to become the real kinds of fathers. When we say, where's the ummah today? Where's the Salahuddin today? And where's the Umar bin al-Khattab of today? And how come we're so weak? And we ask these questions. One of the clear answers to that question is the fathers have been missing. Because when the fathers play their role, then the right kinds of sons and daughters are raised. Then you know what kinds of sons and daughters are raised? Ya bunayya aqim as-salah wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar wasbir 'ala ma asabak. If the entire ummah was an ummah of amr bil ma'ruf, nahi 'anil munkar, as-sabr 'ala ma asabahum, then we would be a different ummah today. We would completely different ummah. All from what? What a father is giving to the child. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us the right generation of fathers. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us impart the right kind of wisdom and guidance, not just for ourselves, but also especially our children. And may Allah Azza wa Jal allow all of the husbands here, the fathers here, to have the kind of cooperation with their wives, with the mothers of these children, so both of them can give their best to this next generation, so that we can actually become a people that deserve to be in positions of leadership. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim.
Almost 300,000 souls have already been gifted a Bayyana TV sponsorship, and the impact has been immense. But over 50,000 eager students who can't afford it are still waiting to begin their journey. You can help. Visit bayyana.com/gift to share the gift of the Quran, so that another soul can explore the depths of Allah's words.
Their access lasts a year,
but its impact may last a lifetime. I want you to help me help them and give the gift of Bayyinah TV today.